There we go. That's more like it. Good morning. I was just going live and I didn't even know where I was. But great morning to everybody. Great early morning. Great 7:18 morning. Y'all know how I roll. I rolls early. Hope y'all like my cup. Got it from Nicole Brown. I'll put it to the camera so you can see what it says. I don't know if it's backwards or not, but I'll read it again. It says difference maker, a dedicated individual who can make a big impact even with just a small action, a few words. Someone who makes a difference in the world and lives of others. I'm a difference maker. I would have thought it. Anyway, good morning, y'all. Live and living color on this quite cloudy day. It's been a lot warmer the last few mornings that I have gotten up to get moving, but it's beautiful out here. It's always beautiful when you can just walk and just appreciate or sit outside and appreciate all that life has taken you through and yet you still are. Earlier, I thought I was live on my page, but I guess I wasn't. I was talking about grief and how yesterday was the 1 year anniversary of my grandmother leaving. She was the matriarch of our family. And I thank God for the time that I've had with her. I had 51 years of my life with her. And I couldn't imagine doing life with anybody else other than Lily. And shout out to Bobby too, who's been gone since February 1st, 2009. And those are my grandparents. And shout out to Bobby Monday. You know, he raised my mom, even though my mom wasn't his. And that was really the only father she knew. And that's the only grandfather I knew. And that's not to disrespect any of my biological grandfathers, because they were also great men. You know, Charlie Towns, who's my mother's dad, was a great guy, and I got great uncles and aunts. And I never got a chance to meet Sonny Newman, who was my dad's father. Never had a chance to meet him at all. So, nonetheless, what's up, big dog? Nonetheless, here I am. You know, yesterday was rough. You know, I sat in my house by myself. I cried. I slept. I was really, distraught. And my whole week has been in a funk because I knew this was the week that my grandmother would pass a year ago. And it made me think about grief in different ways. Like, as a child, I moved around a lot. Hey sis, we got to talk later to put together our thing. I had a lot of grieving this week. And I also thought about the grief of childhood. And I thought about, being born to a teenage mom, and her and my dad weren't together. Shout out to my dad, good dude. And I spent a lot of time at my grandparents. My grandparents were my de facto parents as well. But me and my mother, we moved so much. And I think about our moving, Denton, Star, Newtown, Centerville, to finally get back to Easton, Cordova, which is where I was raised. Good morning, sis. And I think about how I really was never settled. I had a lot of associates, but not a whole lot of friends because I didn't get a chance to make a lot of impactful friendships. Because as soon as I had a friend, we were moving. And that's no fault of mine or my mother's. That's just how life dictates. My mom was trying to raise her child while being a child, and she did a great job. A lot of the decisions that would befall me came strictly on my ignorance because I knew right from wrong. I was raised the right way. But I just thought about how there are a lot of people when I hear them talk about their friends and they've had friends for 30 years or 40 years. And I do have a few of them. But for the most part, whether I want to admit it or not, a lot of my friendships were surface. And they were surface levels because that's just how life was. When you don't build intimate situations with people, you tend to just be associates, and it's okay. I know a lot of people know me. I've tried to put a lot of good out in the world as a child. I didn't do so much good, but I thank God for, the gift of repentance. So that's just where I am on that. But, I woke up this morning and I just thought about, grief. And then I saw the story where the lieutenant governor had, taken the life of his wife and then himself. And I was like, what a coward. And I speak that very openly because it made me think about the friends that I do have and the checks and balances system that we have. Because right or wrong, we're going to tell each other. Right or wrong, Corey going to tell me, hey, D, boy, you out there. Right or wrong, TJ going to be like, Tink, come on, man. Right or wrong, Big going to be like, Danielle. Right or wrong, Matt going to call me from wherever he is. Matt going to call me and say, man, listen. And when I'm in a good position, they're going to be the first to run and congratulate me. Busy and text me like, man, I'm proud of you, bro. I love you. And that's my brother in real life. Andre Rank is my brother in real life. We don't talk all the time. They are introverts. They're not really into big talking. They know I'm an extrovert. I'm talking all the time, even though I'm an introvert too. Newsflash. I'm the most extroverted introvert you'll ever see. Because when I'm out, I'm life of the party. And I can also be in a party and not say a word. And it could be 200-300 people and I could just be by myself and having the time of my life. That's just how it goes. So I'm learning each day in my 52 years. See, it's amazing to still be willing to learn as you grow. I'm not ignorant of the fact that life is changing and I have to adapt to it. One of the most miserable things that you possibly could do is just to stay stagnant while the world passes you by, because then you stay complaining about what used to be, when you can say what used to be prepared me for what it is now, and I could take those lessons from what used to be and be able to migrate through the world that I'm in. And that's just what I have done. I've used the moving around of my childhood to understand how important stability is. I've used the formerly incarcerated period of my life to recognize that there is so much talent inside of institutions, but they were either misguided, underdeveloped, undereducated, miseducated, lacking the parental guidance or guidance as a whole, or the wrong guidance. Lessons that I've learned now, instead of looking at them, because I've lived long enough, instead of looking at them as deterrents, I now look at them as, this is something that can propel me to the next level. For the last, I started the t-shirts and hoodies in 2019. And this year, we didn't do a t-shirt and hoodie because there was so much going on. For the good, too. God allowed me to create a curriculum in which I teach people how to write resume, job training. I do life skills, ethical considerations, recovery wellness action planning, things that can help people once they transition from treatment or incarceration, advocate for them as they continue the journey. Not saying they're going to be successful. The successful part is up to them and the decision making. But the fact that now I can say that I'm certified to teach these things, and I wrote my own curriculum, which I actually started jotting down in like 2008. I say this often, but I started writing my nonprofit in 2009. I didn't get out of prison until 2013. At that time, I had done almost 20 years of prison, but I knew that I could help people stay out of prison because I've been through it. What's up, Chauncey? I'm not going to call a doctor to pull my tooth. A mechanic to pull my tooth. And I'm not going to send a mechanic to do open heart surgery. And that is the issue that I realize, especially when dealing with men who deal with grief and loss, because a lot of men, especially those who are out in the streets, they're using narcotics or They're ripping and running from house to house. They're making these babies and not taken care of. There's a grief somewhere. There is a period of loss that they do not know how to deal with. So instead of trying to deal with it, the only thing they know is damage. And I know a lot of women don't want to hear that because you shouldn't have laid with me if this is what you were going to do. You're exactly right. So I'm not excusing men in the slightest. So please don't misinterpret that, for that's what it is. I'm just saying hurt people because there are a lot of women who are on the same trajectory. Hurt people. Nor am I trying to excuse the coward who killed his wife and then himself. So I don't ever want that to be misconstrued. I'm just talking about grief in its many forms, and it doesn't always come from the loss of a loved one. Grief can come from a relationship that failed, that you put your all into, and now all you know is anger. Grief can take you to a point where all you know is disruption. And I thank, my true circle of support for teaching me value and understand that I am valuable, which goes back to the curriculum I was talking about. I tell men all of these things. Now, I've also noticed something because, the one thing I am when I get on these platforms is I'm transparent, cause I'm transparent because I know that I don't walk in perfection. God is perfection. I walk trying to seek him, which means in the process of seeking him, I'm going to make mistakes, but I still try my hardest to do right by people. One thing I'm learning, especially with men, because there are a lane for people who deal with juveniles. That's not my lane, because I was around so many men. I know that if we can effectively and adaptively make an incursion with the men, it'll broaden out to the children. So that's where I am. Don't expect me to raise your child if I know you. Let me help you, bro. I know some of us, we have grieved so much from the mistakes that we made. See, prison is a place full of grief. I mean, once you get past those who are lying half to death, because we had a lot of people who lie half to death, like people that weren't incarcerated with them, know them or know of them or have been around them. That's why I think it was so good for me, because I was a weirdo. I was a cat from the shore, but the people that I walked with were from all over the place, and I'm just going to list people, Richard was from Big was from Chestertown. You had Willie Gerald, you had BB, they was from PG, you had Swole, he was from Fellowsburg, you had Huss and Danny Boy and Sly and Big Herb, and all of them was from Baltimore. Shout out to Franklin Pat, my ride or die, Then you had like me or TJ or Wills or Busy or Potts, we all from Easton, so to speak, Potts from Star. I mean, it was so many of us who come from so many different places. I'm hoping I'm not leaving nobody out. I apologize. Oh, Clyde, sorry about that. You know what I mean? JMO, people that came from all over the place. When I hashtag 1030 crew, that was us. And we come from all over the place. And one thing that we did was we tried our hardest to, sorry about that, Peanut. We tried our hardest to encourage one another. So when we walked out those doors, we wouldn't have to look back towards them. And, in that process, it's a lot of grief there. Together, we got hundreds of years incarcerated. Hundreds. It seemed like all of us had a boatload of time. And there's a lot of grief there. They're missing out on children's events. You're losing loved ones. Your parents are getting older. You know, your cousins and sisters and brothers are having children that don't really know you. They just heard the stories about you. And there is a lot of grief compounded on the fact that you have made decisions that did not profit you. And now that compounds the grief because physical death of a loved one is not the only form or reaction that causes grief. Lack of doing something that's in your heart you know you should have done can cause grief. I have a lot of it, right? And yesterday just reminded me that, sometimes you still need to heal from things you think you delivered from, or you still need to heal from things you telling other people to move on from. And then with me, I'm quick to tell people things that they need to do to get past it because I'm going through it. And I don't want you to have to go through what I'm doing. Good morning, Trina. Good morning, Angel. And that's just what's up with me, and that don't make me popular. I posted this morning, man, popularity only matter in high school. It took a lot of years. And, I understand now. All my posts and things that, through the years I would post. And I used to think, man, are you really yearning for acceptance? And then I realized these same posts, which people would DM me about, because, you can't come on Facebook and comment because the people that have been talking about you get a chance to see that the person that's listening to you and probably talking about you as well is really impacted by some of the things that you say or some of the things that you do. And, see me on the streets, man, listen, you said such and such and I'm proud of you. And that let me know, ain't that dumb, talking about top in elementary school. Girl, did you see my post? I'm a pop star for real, and, what that does is just reinforce the fact that you keep doing what you're doing, because even the haters, what difference does it make? I see so many people talking about, oh, they hating or the haters. So what? Who cares? Who cares about who hates you or who loves you? Do what you're purposed to do and let the results speak for themselves. Because the same people who can love you today can hate you tomorrow. The same people who hate you today can love you this afternoon. That's just the trajectory of life. And that is, once I got over that, then I just start talking freely. A lot of times when I'm posting, people are like, why is he, they look at it there, oh my God, here we go, another one of these. Because I know from experience and from DMs and I went to my uncle's restaurant, Preston Roadhouse, Preston, Maryland. Stop over there and get you some good food. They open Tuesday through Saturday. I think it's like 11 to 8. Great food. I'm plugging you, boy. So I walked in there one day, and one of the women who worked with my uncle said, your posts inspire me. She said, I look at them every day. I'm like, huh? She said, I want you to know that when you don't post in a couple of days, I ask your uncle, like, your nephew okay? You never know in this life who you impact. But one thing that I am learning is that we can't choose who we want to impact. And that's the issue with a lot of people. That's the issue with a lot of nonprofits. That's the issue with a lot of community activists. That's the issue with a lot of people, the politicians locally. That's the issue. We want to pick and choose who we impact. And if those people don't react like you're impacting them, then you think you have failed. But you haven't. You haven't. You haven't failed at all. Because you never know who you are chose to impact. The Bible says many are called, but few are chosen. There's a lot of people who called to do activism. It's a lot of people who called to have nonprofits. It's a lot of people who make a lot of money. of nonprofits, got a lot of connections, got a lot of people who support them. Bravo. I'm not hating at all because it goes against me to hate anybody. I don't have a hating bone in my body, and there are some people who have stabbed me in the back and waited for me to limp out the door and somebody else stabbed me in the chest. So what? They stabbed me. I looked down. I realized I had the breastplate of righteousness, the helmet of salvation. I had the sword of the spirit. It wasn't no blood on me at all. So and I'm looking for wounds, and it ain't any. They didn't even pierce this skin that God put on me. Facts. And I continue to move, and I see that everything is not for everybody. The little things that I do in the community is because I'm trying to impact whoever, help whoever, advocate for whoever, socially, economically advance whoever, teach whoever, provide for whoever, stand in the gap for whoever does not have a color, whoever does not have a face, whoever does not have a name, whoever just has an essence and a need, and I am trying to meet it. That's what's up with Danielle Davis. And that is how I process grief. I process grief by understanding that I cannot change the period of death that happened. Because once again, a lot of people grieve from death that's not even physical. People grieve from yesterday. People grieve from a decision they made last week. People grieve from failed marriage. People grieve from failed parenting. People grieve. I spent the whole day of it yesterday grieving my grandmother, who was asleep. My grandmother believed in Jesus Christ. She was a hellraiser one time. Oh, anybody who knows Lily may know how my grandmother was rocking. She was an entirely different person the second half of her life. She used to talk so much to me and Teresa about God, and we would just sit in there and she would just talk about all the things that she knew that God had brought her from. And then when we would hear her siblings talk about some of the stuff she used to do, I used to be like, yeah, I see where we get it from. And I miss her every day. Every day. I'm not talking to someone or people who haven't lost, because I'm pretty sure that y'all have lost loved ones as well. But that caused me to revisit the years of grief that I lost, not being able to raise my kid, and then how our relationship is and then isn't and then is and then isn't and then is and then isn't, regardless how much I try. Those years right there have also caused damage to her. So who am I to say, hey, you supposed to love me because I love you fully? You do what you do. When you love me, I'm cool with it. When you need your distance, I'm cool with it. Because I have learned. It's a dog running through my yard. Somebody done let a dog go. Lord have mercy. Because I have learned to process grief. I don't even know how long I've been on here. Somebody tell me how long I've been on here, please, so I don't hold y'all up all morning. But the one thing that really is a blessing to me is that I'm able to see the forest from the trees, and I never thought I would be able to. You are always so positive and give great advice. Your wife is a sweetheart. Yeah, I'm married really good. You know what I mean? It ain't too many people who can say that they totally fumbled a good woman and had a baby by her and went to jail and she had to raise a kid by herself, and she still was willing to marry that, I can't say that on Facebook, that good gentleman. that never ignorant getting gold accomplished. You know what I mean? 23 minutes. Good, good, Angel. I got a couple more minutes I get off here. You know, yeah, I married a sweetheart. I married a woman who knew yesterday, even at work, cause I basically worked from the house yesterday, that something was wrong with her husband simply because she wasn't hearing from him through the day. Cause we text each other through the day like the craziest memes and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, I dropped my mother-in-law off yesterday. I left the car at the house for my brother-in-law. And, my mom picked me up and brought me home. And we went shopping for a little while, and it was their anniversary. So I gave my anniversary gift. I paid for all the stuff that they would buy. They were like kid and candy stores and ballers. And, what I needed, just like my mother needed to see me yesterday, I needed to see my mom. And then I came back in this house and I've done something that I haven't done. I got you, sis. Definitely gonna pray for you. You know what I mean? And we'll call you and pray for you too, so you'll know it. I did something that I haven't done in months. For y'all who don't know, me and my wife have tried our hardest to take sugar out of our diets. People think we on Ozempic and GLP because we have lost so much weight, and all we did was just stop eating bread and sugar and starch, even though I still like party mix. You know, and when I do eat bread, I'm gonna make sure I get it in. But yeah. So I bought a pack of cookies and I ate half the pack. I was sleeping on the couch. Too much sugar. I was I was mourning. Hey sis, good morning. I was mourning all over again. Loss. And as I thought about Lily Mae, I thought about all the loss that I have amounted. Some of it I lost because I was playing the game wrong. I posted the other day about fumbling the ball and relationships. It's another form of grief. You know, I see so many people, oh Lord, here I go. I see so many people talking about, oh boy, he really fumbled the ball with me. And then you take the airbrush picture all glammed up. Or these dudes talking about, yeah, shorty fumbled the ball and you in the gym and you all swole up. And I say, if you fumbled the ball and that cost you the game, then you failed to make winning plays throughout the game that allowed the game to be so close. That's my analogy. If a fumble costs me the game, then there were other things in the game that I could have done to win. So I don't look at life as fumbling the ball anymore. I used to say, man, I didn't get a chance to raise my kid. I fumbled the ball. No, I made decisions. I wanted to be out there whoremongering, selling crack cocaine, sniffing coke, smoking lace blunts, thinking I was the man. Looking a mess. A hella mess out there in these streets. I just think I was the man. I really wasn't. It was false. It was clearly a false sense of, I don't know what it is. I ain't never been an ugly dude, you know, but still, I just had a false sense of reality. Man, this cup is like a thermos. It is metal inside. The coffee's still hot. I hate it. I've had this coffee since 7 o'clock this morning. So, anyway, the main idea of the story, because I ain't gonna hold y'all up too much longer, is that there is a way to process grief. And the way to process grief is just to deal with it head on. And allow yourself to hurt. Allow yourself to go through the emotions. A lot of times we wall up anger so we don't go through the emotion. Or we wall up with depression. Or we wall up with silence. Or we wall up with destruction. Or we wall up with drugs. Or we wall up with alcohol. Or we wall up with just sleeping with this, that, and everything, trying to take the pain away. And then you realize when you wake up in some strange bed with somebody you ain't got no business, or you done come off a alcoholic binge or substance use, bonanza, that you're in the same situation, or when you been angry and fighting or shooting or whatever, you find yourself in the same position, predicament, or worse. So take time to deal with you this morning. Revisit the you of you and address some of the things in life. If you are grieving, if you are not, then to God be the glory for his unspeakable gift. But if you are grieving today, know for a certain that you are not the only one, but know you have to be the one and only person to deal with your individual grief. You got to. You have to deal with it. You have to go through. Yeah, definitely gotta get off here. So here you go, because I'm coming to push the button. But here you go. Imagine Azariah. Okay, hold on. I'm almost finished. I swear I'm almost finished. Let me pull this up real fast, and then I'll get out your way. I had to Google it because I want to make sure it's right. I had to make sure it's right. I'm gonna get it right. Okay. So let me start here, and then full chapter. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I got y'all pause for a minute because it's coming. So you got these 3 Hebrew boys, right? And Daniel. Yeah, I had to get Bible-y for a minute. They call them Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were their Babylonian names, meaning somebody took control of them. They were in captivity and changed their names, right? The names was Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, right? So Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah were thrown into the fire. All that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, we're gonna disregard that, right? Because that's what the Babylonian prince named these boys. So what grief will do is grief will try to change your name in order to destroy you. And grief will throw you in the fire, right? Grief of that guy, good morning, baby. Grief of that man did not love me or our children, but yet he went and made another family and he loves them. That woman won't let me see my kid, even though I'm doing right. I'm paying child support and I take care of my child, but she with that other guy and she won't let me see my son. That I've been getting high for so long and now that I no longer use drugs, but nobody wants me around them because I burned a lot of bridges and now I'm trying to prepare them. That I've been so angry that I just been destructive to everything. And now I want people to know that I no longer have that anger. How do I heal? That I've lied, cheated, misused, and not been accountable to anything that I've ever done. But now I'm trying to accept accountability. And I just need someone to know that I'm serious. Satan will try to change all of that to throw your behind in that fire. Go in there. You know why you go? Because Jesus is right in there with you. And then the enemy is looking like, I thought that grief would destroy him. I thought not having that child in his life would destroy him. I thought not having a father would destroy him. I thought teenage pregnancy would destroy him. I thought that drugs would destroy him. I thought him walking in that house and seeing his wife in the bed with somebody else would destroy him. I thought that them losing their house and it burning to the ground would destroy him. I thought that everybody around him dying would destroy him. I thought that all the lies and the rumors and the innuendos would destroy him. but they're in the fire and they are not burning. Why aren't they burning? Why aren't they burning? They should be disintegrated in that fire. Turn the heat up. That's what he did. They put more heat in there. Put more coal. Turn the heat up. And they still wasn't burning. And then they looked. And they said, we put 3 in there. But there's 4 in there. Where'd the 4th person come from? When you finally accept the fact that you need to heal, and you allow that grief, instead of destroying you, to be your superpower to restore you, and you grieve properly, that healing will show you that you weren't damaged at all. Because Satan was trying to use that grief to destroy you. But one that stood like the Son of Man will be in that fire with your behind. And you won't burn nor smell like smoke. How real could that be?